Live from Nashville, Tennessee, this is Saddle Up America on the Equestrian Legacy Radio Network.
The winds are blowing colder, there's miles of fence to mend. These bones are getting older, but I saddle up again. No need for complaining about all you gotta do. You just keep on getting stronger, or it'll get the best of you. On the Yellowstone, Yellowstone, some things are worth living for, some things are worth dying for, some things are just better left alone. On the Yellowstone. I was born a rancher, learned the cowboy ways, raised up in Montana, watching cattle graze. Ain't no amount of money that could measure what it's worth, all the blood, sweat, and tears shed upon this earth. On the Yellowstone, Yellowstone, some things are worth living for, some things are worth dying for, some things are just better left alone. On the Yellowstone. Some things are worth living for, some things are worth dying for, some things are just better left alone. On the Yellowstone. Winds are blowing colder, there's miles of fence to mend. These bones are getting older, I saddle up again.
From Nashville, Tennessee, I'm your host, Gary Holt. Joining me is my beautiful wife, my co-host, Mary Kaye. Good morning, darling.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm awesome. Yeah. Always fun to hear that song. It means we're about to start a Saddle Up America show.
Joni Harms.
Joni Harms, yeah.
Great song. That should have made Yellowstone. That's what she wrote that for.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
It didn't make the cut, but it should have. So anyway, great song. Great song. It has been a rainy week in Nashville, Tennessee, and we finally have some beautiful weather for the start of CMA Fest here in Nashville, Tennessee. You know how many people they're expecting in Nashville for CMA Fest?
No, how many?
400,000 people.
Good gravy.
For the 3 days of CMA Fest. Pretty amazing. And you are going to be crazy enough to try to make it downtown.
I am. I'm going to try.
Absolutely nuts to take you and Cece downtown. So.
Well, we went last year. It was so much fun. So, yeah, they do free concerts down on Broadway, Lower Broadway, where the Ryman Theater is. And so we're going to head down to the stage there. And Cassidy Daniels is doing a show. So I'm going to go try and catch her.
They have all kinds of shows that are absolutely free for CMA Fest.
It's fun.
And then I understand Ella Langley is going to be performing on Thursday night or Friday night at Nissan Stadium with an all-star lineup of folks. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a whole lot of fun today because we are visiting with our good friend with Backcountry Horsemen of America, Mr. Randy Rasmussen. And so we're going to have a great time visiting with him. We're going to find out what's going on with Backcountry Horsemen and see what kind of legislation is in the works out there that will affect our trail riders. We're going to do all of that when we come back right after this.
Howie Mandel here. You know, folks, I'm a man of so many talents. I'm a comedian, actor, game show host, podcaster, but even I can't juggle all the amazing products from España Silk. This isn't just another skincare line, folks. España Silk has a whole universe of amazing products for humans, animals, you name it. We're talking shampoos, conditioners, detanglers, topical sprays, and even a waterless shampoo. From dogs to cats to horses to humans and more. Just pure, silky perfection. Head over to EspañaProducts.com and use the code Howie10 for 10% off.
Alone in my saddle, adrift in the wind, still out riding fences as autumn moves in, but summer still lingers like words of a poem, warming my spirit wherever I roam. A lifetime of wandering, chasing down dreams, winding through canyons, forever it seems. I'm bound to keep moving, 'cause I know there'll be gold around the next bend, wherever I roam. Turn around, settle down, like the wind I keep blowing free. They don't know I'm bound to go. I guess it's just the gypsy in me. Called by the spirits of places I know, from the Sangre de Cristos to the Coconino. The blessings they bring lie deep in my soul. I carry them here wherever I roam. Turn around, settle down, like the wind I keep blowing free. But they don't know I'm bound to go. I guess it's just the gypsy in me. There's a voice that I carry, unconditional love, calming and soothing like an angel above. She's always there with me, singing me home, here in my heart, wherever I roam. Wherever I roam.
Mr. Gary Allegretto, Wherever I Roam. I thought this was an ideal song to kick off the show today. Welcome to the show, Randy Rasmussen.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
How you doing? You know, Gary was a hotshot and was a firefighter. Good guy. Good guy. Talented musician and a singer and a songwriter as well. But yeah, with all the forest fires that we've had over the past year, and I still have going on, I just thought I'd throw out that he was a hot shot. I know that that's important for Backcountry Horsemen of America to have these firefighters out there.
Oh, indeed. And yeah, and he mentioned two geographies that I love too, the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in northern New Mexico and the Coconino in Arizona.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's been there firsthand and fought fires there. So my hat's off to him. That's great.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, this is our 14th year we're celebrating on Equestrian Legacy Radio. And Backcountry Horsemen of America has pretty much been with us all of that time. Thank you, guys.
We're honored to have you here, and the various chair people that you've had on. It's great. We have a new chairperson every 2 years. So perhaps in that span, we've had 7 of them, join your show over time. But I've been thrilled to be part of it too. So we're really honored. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you guys and everything that Backcountry Horsemen of America does for trail riders that are out there, wherever you are in the United States. And by the way, visit their website. We'll just go ahead and mention that real quick now, and we'll mention it again later at the end of the show. bcha.org. If you are not a member, go to the website, become a member, and we'd love to have you part of that organization as well. But you've got some interesting topics that you threw out this time to discuss. And which one do you want to start with?
Well, let's talk about this bipartisan bill in Congress, because it's such a rarity when Congress is so divided, so partisan, and doesn't do a whole lot of anything. I can give you a great example on public lands that is going to benefit all of us, where Congress is together on an issue.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Well, let's hear about it. What is this bill?
This is in the Senate right now, and it's going to hopefully show up in the House of Representatives very soon. It's called the America the Beautiful Act.
Huh.
And sounds lovely, and it's, based on its name. But what it is, it's a funding mechanism that is going to help support our public lands, whether it's the National Park Service, the U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, Fish and Wildlife Service, refugees, every place where we ride and our members and friends go. This is a up to 8-year fund that will put $2 billion, billion with a B, every year towards the maintenance backlog that these agencies have. And I'm sure you've all seen closed trails, roads, facilities, even visitor centers. This is all intended to be used for that purpose, things that are already on the maintenance backlog, which unfortunately has gone up to about $40 billion for our federal agencies.
Oh, wow.
And this will begin chipping away, $2 billion a year for up to 7 or 8 years. That's going to be a sizable chunk. It still doesn't relieve Congress of its duty to continue to adequately fund these federal agencies. But importantly for us, it's dealing with roads and getting to trailheads. It's dealing with the trailhead infrastructure and the trails themselves to put funding towards. And the U.S. Forest Service in particular has been doing this. I've got to back up. This is a continuation of a fund that was established in 2020 from the Great American Outdoors Act.
Okay.
That just recently sunsetted. That was 5 years of funding at a slightly lower rate for these agencies, but the bulk and the lion's share went to the National Park Service, for better or for worse. But our other federal agencies got a piece of the pie. Hopefully we get more for the Forest Service, because they certainly have done more for trails.
Right.
And using that funding in the past several years for trails than any of the other federal agencies. And so we're really hopeful, because when I say bipartisan in the Senate, I mean there's 62 of them, and half are from one party and half are from the other party.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
Unheard of to have that kind of unanimity around an issue. But our public lands and this kind of funding is it's hitting all the right buttons. So this is truly bipartisan.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
That's
Get people
good
in
news.
Congress to agree on anything today is awesome. So congratulations for all the work you guys did. So you were just up on what was it that you called it? Something on the hill? What was that deal? Hike the hill.
Hike the hill.
Hike the hill. Yeah, we call it Hike the Hill with our partners, American Hiking Society, where we team with them and the Partnership for the National Trail Systems, those 32 congressionally designated national scenic and historic trails. We go to Washington, D.C. every year in the late winter to, I don't want to use the term lobbying because I'm not a lobbyist and I don't ever want to be. But nonetheless, we talk to agency leadership and certainly Congress about these very things like this America the Beautiful bill and how we can help support this and move this through the Congress. And so we have so many trail groups and other interested groups together doing just that. I'll have another bite of the apple later this month when I'm going to the American Horse Council's annual meeting in Washington, D.C. To follow up with some of these things. But it is about relationships, both with the chief of the Forest Service, for example, or the head of the appropriations committees in the House and Senate. It's, and their staff. It's really just being there and being present and, continuing just to be persistent, polite, and always ask them where are their favorite trails, where do they go, what do they like to do, and make that connection, because I think trails connect all of us.
Well, they do, and relationships in whatever you're involved in is really important, and so that's the way things get done, are through relationships. So congratulations on that.
Yes. And Randy, I do have to say, as a songwriter, your line "Trails Connect All of Us" that's good.
Are you going to use that
That
as
would
a
be a
hook,
good song.
Mary Kaye?
That would be a good song lyric. Yeah.
There you go. She's got that for a hook. That's all right. Well, so that's the positive side of things. There's some negative things that are going on.
Always, the good with the bad. But what we're bracing for, as a big user of our federal public lands, and in this case, our national forests, is that it's been announced by the Secretary of Agriculture, last year, that they're going to repeal, in other words, do away with a regulation that's been around for 25 years called the roadless rule in that Protection Act. And, that affects about a third of our national forests in total, maybe about 58.5 million acres. But what roadless rules do, and they're the kind of the silent hero, we know we have wilderness, and we know every time we go into a Forest Service wilderness, there'll be a sign saying you're entering the Sangre de Cristo wilderness or wherever it might be. And that's, kind of been reinforced with us, but we don't know about where those roadless areas, at least for those of us, and myself included, not always paying attention, because there's no signs or boundaries, marked, out in the field, but they're a significant component of the national forest system. Like I said, about a third of the national forest system, where the roadless rule looked to kind of rein in and redirect where new road building will happen, because there's already I think the national forest road system is twice as long as the interstate road system in our United States. I mean, it's
wow,
120,000 miles of our
Surprising.
forests have tons of roads. Yeah, and there's not that many wild lands that are remaining, especially in the lower 48. And so the roadless rule largely prohibits new road building in these areas that are, in most cases, distant from any communities. But there are exceptions. There's roads that can be built to connect communities. There's, restoration and wildfire prevention that can happen in roadless areas. There's still a lot of things that can happen, but commercial timber harvesting is largely, not available or allowed in the roadless areas. But again, with exceptions, especially if there's something to do with reducing wildfire hazard.
Right.
And so for 25 years, that rule, that regulation has been around. If it's rescinded, it could be a big shakeup, because as our members are looking at the maps and starting to understand where those roadless areas are, they're often the portals and the trailheads where we, embark on our trails before we get into wilderness. They're places that a lot of people have just assumed would always remain the way they are. That could be in jeopardy if the roadless rule is fully repealed in the United States.
I've got to ask, as you're talking about that, does that have anything to do with the fact that they are trying to eliminate some of the public lands for development?
Well, it's a good question. I'm always suspicious about that same thing too, because we've had so many runs by Congress of recent to try to sell off our public estate, our basically our heritage, that's unique in the United States. I don't know if that's the case. I think it's more to facilitate more commercial timber harvest, because there's only about, last statistic I saw, 4% of commercial timber in the United States is taken off of national forest lands. It's largely done on private lands and has been for decades. But even then, I mean, clearly these 58.5 million acres would not all be at risk. Many of them never will, because there's a lot of them are largely inaccessible. But it is supposed to, and it's intended to follow an executive order that increases timber production on national forests. I get that. We all need forest products, but I don't even think that the timber industries are tooled up to be able to jump on this and start massive road building and timber, harvest, in short order. And if I were industry, I'd be suspect that maybe the next administration that comes could, further tighten up or reverse that. So they're not going to invest a lot in infrastructure, perhaps, or new mills that can, get bigger timber. It's still in question about how far that's going to go, but what's motivating it. But at my understanding, it's largely for commercial timber production.
Okay. All right. But at any rate, it's to repeal a bill that's been enforced for years.
A policy, correct. That doesn't have legislation that supports it, but there are 2 bills in Congress that would make the roadless rule permanent. And there's also a new bill in Congress that would essentially do what the Secretary of Agriculture wants to do, is eliminate the roadless rule. So there's these competing versions happening both in Congress and this proposal for repeal by the administration that are currently on the board. We probably won't know about that one until later this summer, when the full announcement with the alternatives and public comment, whatever form that takes, is invited by the administration.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to find out more about the second repeal when we come back. But I do want to share a great song from our good friend, Mr. Mike Blakely, called Colorado Trail, since we're talking about trails. And let's take a listen to that and come back and talk more with Randy Rasmussen today with Backcountry Horsemen of America on Saddle Up America. We'll be right back.
It's called the Colorado Trail. Ride through the lonely night, ride through the day, keep the herd moving on its way. Weep all ye little rains, wail winds wail, all along the Colorado Trail. Eyes like the morning star, cheeks like a rose. Laurel was a pretty girl, God Almighty knows. Weep all ye little rains, wail winds wail, all along the Colorado Trail. All along, Ernie. Dark is the sky. Wish I'd stayed in Abilene, warm and safe and dry. Weep all ye little rains, wail winds wail, all along the Colorado Trail. All along the Colorado Trail.
That's kind of fun.
That's pretty.
Colorado Trail, Mike Blakely, and you recognize Mary Kaye, our good friend Ernie Martinez there.
Judy Fisher, yeah.
He bring to the house that time.
What's that? He brought, when he comes to visit with his partner Diana, he brings like 5 instruments with him.
And then he buys one when he's here in Nashville.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy. Talented people.
Very.
I'm just thinking, Randy, we need to do a Saddle Up America event to bring some of these guys in for Backcountry Horsemen of America. We need to raise money for Backcountry Horsemen of America for your grant program.
It's a great idea, Gary.
What do you think?
Wonderful. Yeah. And the grant program that you're referring to is our trail grants for chapters to go out there and do the work.
Would that not be a fit?
Well, it'd be a great fit. I appreciate the thought. And let's talk more about that because, our volunteers, we have 210 chapters in 31 states for Backcountry Horsemen America. And these are all volunteers. They don't get reimbursed in most cases a dime for what they do. They use their animals, their diesel, their rigs, their time, and they're out there maintaining trails and horse camps like that too. On certain occasions, the best we can do with the federal agencies is get them reimbursed for maybe some gas, or something like that, or for stock days or a couple things. But it doesn't amount to much. But every little incentive helps to get them to recognize that there's a broader audience that appreciates what they do, day in, day out. I just had the good fortune to be with the Backcountry Horsemen of Oregon this past weekend in Sisters, Oregon, and had a great horseback ride with them. To view the Cascades, that part of the Cascade Mountains, just beautiful. But they spent 4 days out there, again, on their own dime. And they got some trail riding in like we did, but most of it is work parties, trainings, the whole bit. This is what they do. So anything in terms of donations via bcha.org, new memberships, or what you're thinking about is always welcome for our volunteers.
I remember Mary Kaye just performed at Loretta Lynn's ranch down in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, night before last. And I can remember I did a rendezvous, one of my rendezvous back in 2017 down there. That's where we raised money for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's for that event. And we had trail riding. We had music performers that came in from all over the country to help perform. And we had a gentleman with Backcountry Horsemen of America that came and did a course on packing while he was there. And we just had a great time. We had Mustang events and backpacking events and all kinds of things that we'll have to get together and plan something, Randy Rasmussen. So let's put that on our calendar. So there is another repeal that's in the works that kind of hits close to home for many of us, I think.
Yeah, this has to do with our national forest trails and another policy, another rule that has been in place for, in this case, 20 years, since 2005, the travel management rule. And that sounds pretty boring by itself because it is boring. You think of travel management, it's like the old days where before the internet, where you'd call up your, travel advisor, whoever, and book your tickets or something. But
this sounds so old fashioned now.
But in this case, travel management, Mary Kaye, Gary, is is how the Forest Service designates trails, those that are for motorized uses like motorcycles and ATVs and the like, and those for us and hikers and mountain bikers and others. And we've had a happy peace for 2 decades because on national forests, because of that rule, that policy that largely separates those uses. And there are places where we coexist and even have work parties together on certain motorized and non-motorized joint trails. But for the most part, people on horseback don't want to be with fast-moving machines that are often noisy too and that can scare their animals for obvious reasons. We know why. So even though a lot of our members and volunteers have their own ATVs on their farm and ranch, or even use them recreationally on trails, they don't want to mix that with horseback trails. And that's what the travel management rule did wonderfully for 20 years. Just about every national forest has a travel management plan. And that divvies up the landscape, so to speak, into motorized areas, non-motorized, etc. That's also on the books to be possibly repealed by the Forest Service. And we've had some great discussions with the chief of the Forest Service and others about, it's 20 years old. It could use modernization. There's ways we can update that appeases the motorized interests and the non-motorized interests. So we don't have to get rid of a good rule that's been working so well for so long and kept the peace on our trails. Because what its reversal could mean, there's a lot of ramifications, but it could mean, I think that I've mentioned this before, that every trail that we use would have to be marked, no motorized use on it, no ATVs, dirt bikes, etc. And that is a huge unfunded mandate. That the Forest Service doesn't even have their people and resources to post signs at every one of these trails or every trail junction and all that. But that's the only tool we have now, the travel management rule, to make it illegal to be on a non-motorized trail with a machine, an off-road vehicle. And the good news here is that we think we found a middle ground, and the chief seems to be softening his stance, that instead of repealing the travel management rule, they will work with us and other trail groups, and importantly the motorized trail groups, to amend this to make it a better for everybody, because their intent is good from the Forest Service. They want to increase access for more people on national. Right. That's not how you do it. And then the last thing I'll mention is that even the trade industry associations for the motorized, motorcycles, ATVs, etc., they don't want to see repeal either. So we have common ground because they have certainty on the trails they can ride and where that's going, and they take pride in maintaining their trails. But if you take that away and leave it open-ended, again, another administration could change it because it's only policy, it's not law. Mm-hmm. Things could swing in the other direction too, and we want to get along with all of our trail partners. Whether it's motorized or non-motorized, we don't want to be back in the trench wars that were happening decades ago.
Well, I can remember being up at the Big South Fork, and the rule was if you had an ATV, you were to turn your ATV off and pull over to the side and let a horse go by. And so I was out there one day and they did that. But just as I got to the last ATV, because there were 3 or 4 of them, they started theirs up. And my horse jumped over into the bushes and into the trees, and I almost lost my neck. And so it was kind of a pretty painful experience on there. Kept going, but I think I hurt for the next day or two from that experience. So it's really nice when they took the ATVs off and they had their own designated area to go to. And the trails are much nicer too. Some of those ATVs can tear up a trail pretty big,
Well, they can, and too many horses on a non-sustainable trail can do the same thing too. Yeah. I mean, we all have our examples of where we've had on-trail conflict, and that could be another bike, a mountain bike, an e-bike. It could be one of our own who's just not abiding by the rules and creating problems for everybody. But by and large, no. Yes, the motorized trail community is very well organized. They understand the etiquette, but you're going to have those examples that we just don't want to see happening more often.
Yeah, and this was over 20 years ago. So, I mean, that policy was not in place at the time. But we certainly would like to see it enforced and stay. So what else is going on with BCHA right now?
Oh, we're doing lots of things. We're taking our Light on the Land curriculum, and how to be good stewards and stuff on the trail, whether you're, camping or other things like that. And that's really kind of become our marquee, educational component of Backcountry Horsemen of America. It's our own curriculum developed, and anyone can use it freely. It's on our website, bcha.org, and called Light on the Land. We're going to find more ways to get that word out to other people, to demonstrate, number one, since our founding 3 or 4 years ago, that's always been where BCHA started from, is how can we, minimize our impact, and how can we be good stewards at the same time. This curriculum does just that, and reinforces our role as, trying to impress upon the entire equine community how to do it right when you're in the backcountry, when you're in the front country, what things you should plan to do and how you be prepared, what equipment, party size, everything to kind of, you can't say leave no trace anymore, because that's just not possible for anybody, quite frankly.
You gotta leave some kind of trace. Yeah.
Yeah. Light on the Land's a recognition of, we all have an impact. Let's just find the best way to minimize that. And so we want to keep making that our marquee educational program to show the responsible emphasis that founded BCHA from the start.
Okay. By the way, I am sitting there looking at your scenery in the background.
It's pretty cool. Beautiful sunset.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell us about your background there.
Well, that is the Oregon Coast Range and Mary's Peak over my shoulder here, at about the highest point in the Oregon Coast Range, about 4,000 feet. And then on the other side of that is Newport and, the sea. So it comes up pretty quickly in terms of elevation here. And yeah, the other part is our pasture in the background here. So
that is your backyard that we're looking at right now.
I didn't want to say that, but yes, it is.
What a cool backyard you have, my friend. That's absolutely gorgeous.
It's green because it's Oregon, for crying out loud. It rains a lot in the winter, but our best kept secret is there's at least 6 months of beautiful summer weather.
That's great. That is great. Well, give us your website again and tell us how we can get involved with Backcountry Horsemen of America.
You bet. It's bcha.org. So Backcountry Horsemen of America, bcha.org. People can find about halfway down on that landing page to locate a chapter near them if they want to become a member of that chapter. There's a donate button, at the top there too. If folks just like the work that BCHA does, but they don't have the time or ability to join us in work parties and all that, they can donate and support our work. There's a lot of things they can do. We have other ways that people can donate or get involved with BCHA if they choose. You don't have to be a packer. I'm not one. You don't have to even have a horse or mule. And of course, there's that whole ongoing thing about horse versus mule and our
the mules are really starting to take over a bit. Yeah, the mules coming on. So they have a big mule sale down in Cannonville, Utah, or Tropic. Where is it, Mary Kaye? Is the sale in Tropic?
Cannonville.
Cannonville, and they just had that mule sale down there. The top selling mule brought $100,000.
Wow.
$100,000. Set a record. And
well, a lot of our packing friends are using mules for sure because of some of their advantages, their sure-footedness and whatnot. Yeah. So we've got a large cadre of folks within BCHA that use mules on a regular basis.
Yeah. Mules and horses, it doesn't really make any difference. You're going to get out and enjoy the country. And that's what's important. Well, it is always good to have you with us, and look forward to having you back. And Craig will be with us, I guess, probably next time. But always great to have Backcountry Horsemen of America with us. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate everything that Backcountry Horsemen of America does to keep the trails open and safe here in the United States. And we appreciate you, my friend. Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you. On behalf of the volunteers of BCHA, we appreciate being heard. Thanks.
Well, we'll just keep people listening. That'd be good. And now they can see us. And that's because of Mary Kaye. And so here's the plug. You can listen to this show on all of your favorite streaming platforms, but now you can find us on YouTube as well. And all you have to do is look for Equestrian Legacy Radio. And so we look forward to doing that. We look forward to having you back next time, Randy, on Saddle Up America. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. All
We'll
right.
see you.
Take care.
We're going to go and listen to a great song called If I Hadn't Seen the West. We'll be back in just a moment on Saddle Up America.
Well, thank you, Joyce Woodson, for writing this wonderful song. If I hadn't seen a crimson red sunset send the world through a shimmering dream, if I hadn't heard the canyon towhee bird sing his song for me, wide open spaces that fill me up and leave me feeling blessed, I could have lived any place in the world if I hadn't seen the West. There's a river that spills through Sedona's hills where the red rock looks over the green, and above Santa Fe's hills of sage are the bluest skies I've ever seen. Canyons that echo back to me, say your wandering heart can rest. I could have lived any place in the world if I hadn't seen the West. I like the South, something about sweet honeysuckle in June. I've been north and the east has its charms, but hey, they got the same moon, but nothing quite like a desert night with the sound of a Spanish guitar. I get a thrill just being alive under a blanket of stars. When I fall in love, I hope she's a cowgirl at heart, for I confess I could have lived any place in the world if I hadn't seen the West. The West.
Our friend Mr. Dan McCorson, If I Hadn't Seen the West. And it's so much fun talking with Randy Rasmussen, kind of catching up and taking a look at some of the policies and legislation that affect trail riders all across the country. And again, we appreciate the work that Backcountry Horsemen of America does to help keep these trails open.
Mhm.
And even though they're not lobbyists,
Mhm.
we appreciate them going up to Washington and speaking for us as
Well,
well.
and taking the time to be on this podcast, and that takes some time to be that knowledgeable on the subject. So we appreciate Randy's time.
Well, we do, but it's kind of fun being on this podcast.
True.
They've done
That
it for
is
14
true.
years, so we just have a big time and get to be really great friends with so many of the folks that are part of Backcountry Horsemen of America. Well, it has been a fun show. It has been a fun week. We had a great show on Tuesday for Live from Nashville, and then on Thursday for Saddle Up America. No, Campfire Cafe with Mr. R.W. Hampton, and that was just such a hoot visiting with him.
It was a
I
great
think
interview.
We could talk with him forever, I believe.
We about did.
Well, I think we did, because we talked for about an hour before the show ever started. So that was kind of cool.
Yes.
And then always great to have Backcountry Horsemen America with us on the first of each month. And so we appreciate those guys as well. But you can join us on Tuesdays for Live from Nashville, Thursdays for the Campfire Cafe, and then on Saturdays for Saddle Up America. And always, always, always great to have my beautiful wife join me as the co-host on the show.
Aw, you're just kind, honey. Thank you.
Love you to death and enjoy doing the show with you. Thank you wherever you are in the world listening. Now we're in 80 countries, over 1,200 cities, and we just appreciate our audience out there wherever you are. And so just keep listening, and we'll try to keep having some good shows for you to enjoy. There is another video and song that I'm going to get to close the show today. And there is a young fella named Mark Lynn Young, who is kind of a neighbor of ours. He and Casey are just the sweetest people in the world. But Mark Lynn and Casey put together a video that is just absolutely a hoot. And it's called Ride It Out. So we're going to close the show today with that, and we'll see you next time on Saddle Up America. Thanks for joining us.
Treasure in life, and if you settle for less, you'll pay a price too high. They can carry you through hard times or help shoulder your load, and that value is worth more than their weight in gold. Old time advice still holds true, so don't ever hesitate to put these words to use. Brush yourself off if you fall down in the dust. Cinch your saddle tight and pull yourself back up. Do the best you can, don't give in or doubt. Ride, ride, ride it out. Decide where you're going and then follow it through. But even best made plans can come unraveled too. So expect the unexpected, hold on tight to the rope, 'cause life has twists and turns just like a rodeo. Old time advice still holds true, so don't ever hesitate to put these words to use. Brush yourself off if you fall down in the dust. Cinch your saddle tight and pull yourself back up. Do the best you can, don't give in or doubt. Ride, ride, ride it out. Cowboy wisdom is like fresh water in a well, glad it's there when you need it if you're on a long trail. Oh, brush yourself off if you fall down in the dust.